Oil is at $97, $98. Oil producing companies and countries are doing very well. There is an expectation that more petrodollars could start sloshing around in emerging markets like India. To talk about the whole petrodollar phenomenon, Zafar Sareshwala of Parsoli Corporation and Waqar Naqvi, Vice President International Sales and Specialty Business with Birla Sun Life, join in. Gentlemen, morning. Thanks for joining in. Waqar, what's been the experience so far with petrodollars in India and relative to other emerging markets?
Well, Udayan, our view is that at this point of time we have not really seen too much of an inflow of petrodollars into India, but with this touching the petrol price touching the all-time high and inching towards 100, I would say that the expectation is high. The expectation of money flowing into India is high. Up till now, what we have seen is a trickle, and if petrodollars have contributed to it, it has been a minor reason up till now. But yes, it's going to contribute in a big way, in our opinion, in the times to come.
Waqar, morning. What shape and form does this usually take? Does this money come in via internationally or foreign-based funds, or is there some other way of participation in the Indian market?
See, if you look at the foreign-based funds, or rather funds based out of India, or rather not out of India, funds domiciled outside India, which are focused on Indian equities and dedicated to the Indian stock market, the size approximately would be 10 billion USD at this point of time. I am not aware of the statistics of the funds which are comprising India as a part amongst emerging markets. But if you look at this 10 billion USD of funds, I wouldn't say that the money from Middle East would be more than 20%, plus minus 5%, because there's not too much clarity in terms of how much money is there from the Middle East. Add to this the part of funds from Middle East which would be mobilized by FIIs outside Middle East and outside India. It's anybody's guess again. I would say that adding the FII money into India and the fund money into India, it would, on the higher side, it would be 10%. I would put it anywhere between 5 to 10%.
Zafar, what's your experience been and what are your expectations of petrodollar interest in India?
The GCC countries, they are the best, these are the best of times for them. Presently, all the GCC countries, their surpluses are in the region of $600 billion. That is just because of the oil price which is plus. You take up only one country, for example, Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia sells 8 million barrels of oil per day. And you can multiply 8 million, multiply by whatever, 90, 100. So this is the amount they get every day in their banks. And this is the story with Kuwait, UAE and all the other countries. Now, after post-September 11 and the Gulf War, not lot of money is going back to United States and the European countries. Now, the logical conclusion for that money to go anywhere would be India, because India is a story. We have been traveling to Saudi Arabia a couple of times since last 1.5 to 2 years. Our people have been pitching India in the Gulf, and we have been very successful. In fact, I myself met a couple of very senior people of large banks who are sitting on huge pile of cash, and also a lot of Islamic institutions. So they know that India is a story, but their only concern is that they want Islamically acceptable companies. And again, which we have showcased them, we have our own Islamic Equity Index, that is Parsoli Islamic Equity Index, which contains 42 companies. Then we also have now screened all the mid-cap and the small-cap companies. And we have showcased them that India is more Sharia compliant than any of the countries in the region. For example, Pakistan or Bahrain or Bangladesh, Malaysia. So all this, they are very happy with that. In fact, our team is again visiting Saudi Arabia. The response has been tremendous. And the gentleman, Mr. Waqar, as he said, yes, initially they would enter India through dedicated funds, and which we have done. We have set up an Islamic equity fund dedicated only for Indian stocks. It's called first Islamic India fund which is domiciled in Germany, and the corpus would be invested only in Islamically acceptable companies in India. And we are pitching that fund, of course, to the European Muslim community, but also to the GCC countries. And so far the experience has been very encouraging. Of course, not a lot of money has yet come, but I think the next destination or the next money which we would see in coming days should be from the GCC countries.
Waqar, do these kind of funds give the kind of returns the Indian market has been giving traditionally? Because if this index is a case in point, there's a lot of technology, etc. in that. Are they able to pick the best performers?
I would agree with Mr. Sareshwala here, because if you look at the Sharia compliant stocks and if you apply the criteria there, you get something like 150 to 180 stocks. Now, that is definitely a proof that you have more Sharia compliant stocks in India than most of the countries or the neighboring countries, barring one or two in Southeast Asia. Having said that, we did do a mapping ourselves of this Sharia compliant index, not Sharia compliant index, but of the Sharia portfolio that we ran for almost a couple of years. And the returns came, I would say, 10 to 15% lower than the Sensex. That was that. So there's definitely depth there. We came up with something like 150 to 180 stocks. And if you run it, definitely the returns there are attractive enough for the investors from Middle East and other places to come into India. How much that will attract money is something which is at this point of time debatable, but yes, the way Sukuk has raised money worldwide, which is the dead side of Sharia, it does appear that you might see a lot of money coming into Sharia compliant stocks also.
Zafar, what is the actual numbers, if you could share with us till date?
I would add our Parsoli Islamic Equity Index since 1996. We have tracked it till 1996, and the performance of Parsoli Islamic Equity Index, if we take 96 as the base, has almost run in tandem with BSE 30. In fact, a lot of times our index has gone up and BSE 30 has gone down. So it is almost going in tandem. In fact, what people have understood now, that being Sharia compliant, they don't need to pay any premium. So being Sharia compliant is absolutely wonderful. Now coming to the amount, the figures which can come, I think, we need to do something more, like on the government level. Because I have lived in England for a couple of years, I know that the British government always has its investment authority, which always pitches UK and London as a destination of investment. I mean, most of the time their people are pitching in most of the GCC capitals. We need to create something of that kind through the government level. And not only the money would come in the companies as FIIs or as portfolio investment, but there is a huge potential for this money to come in foreign direct investment. Our Prime Minister had been talking in New York about 2 years back that India needs $150 billion for its infrastructure development. I think the way I've been traveling now in last 2 years, because I've been traveling to the Middle Eastern countries for 20 years, but the change of perception which I've been seeing in last 2 years, it's absolutely changed. The attitude of people there towards India has changed. We just need to sell and market ourselves, particularly our strength, the judiciary system which we have, and how safe the foreigners have been with their money in this country. So I think $150–200 billion to come into the country in 10 years time would be very modest.
Okay. We hope we get that kind of money. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining in. That's petrodollars, which our experts say could be the next big source of money.